If you don't belong to it, it's free to join, and all my research goes up on that website. And in fact, aren't you doing something with Fairmount?
We are.
Yeah.
We're looking at the 20 associates' homes.
Yeah.
And we're photographing them.
That's
and
awesome.
We're talking to the neighbors, but there's only 12 of the 20 left.
Wow.
So, and then we're going to do a little reception down in Clary Square in the theater there and show you what's around and what's left. But they all look so different now.
And it's kind of like it's very Victorian houses, and
It's not the ones people think.
Yeah.
It's,
well, yours is an awesome house.
yeah, but mine's 40 years later, but it belonged to one of the 20 associates. But the 20 associate houses are very basic, plain houses, and people don't think that those are they, but they are.
Well, Hyde Park Then Now, it's a website that I created because I was researching my background, my family. My family's the Gerry family of Massachusetts, and Elbridge Gerry is the guy. He was the 9th governor of Massachusetts, and he was vice president under James Madison, and he was the guy that invented the gerrymander. So if you didn't like the way the political arena was and how the district was associated, then you can change it. And that was gerrymandering, changing the districts to fit the. If he's Democrat, then you change it so the Democrat has more power. So anyway, that's what he does.
And a signer of the Declaration of Independence, don't forget that.
He was a signer. He was the last signer of the Declaration of Independence. So in researching my family, and I'm missing one generation, I came across all this good old Hyde Park stuff from like back in the 1880s. Hey, why don't we create something so we can show people? All they do is got to join and they'll see it. So this is the website. And we call anybody who's a member here, is not a member, I call them curators, because everyone has a story to tell, and some people may have pictures of Hyde Park that nobody else has, and they can post it on the website. So we have 3,200 curators and members in this website. Anyway, this is the founder of Hyde Park and the creator of the 20 Associates, Alpheus P. Blake. And so this is an older picture of him. There's a younger picture which I decided not to use. And so he was a very wealthy man. He was in real estate. So he had an office over on Sumner Street somewhere, and I'll get to this in a minute, but he would go down to Florida and vacation. And so he bought property down in Florida, and guess what? They named a town after him, Blake, Florida, which later became South Daytona Beach. So you can thank him for having South Daytona Beach. And here's his house, 24 Norway Park. Is it still there?
His second house.
This is second house.
His second house. His first house burned down.
Okay.
Yep.
Anyway, it's a very...
And that burned down 2 years ago.
No kidding.
And they're redoing it right now.
By the way, if you see a picture you like, I welcome verbal contributions. Everybody wants to clap or scream out. You can do that. And this is a blank page. Now here's something you want to know. This is an ad. His office was 33, the corner of Arch and Summer Street. And what he was doing is advertise. This is before Hyde Park became Hyde Park, before the town was incorporated. And he was trying to get people from Boston to come up here and buy property. And here's what he said. Near Boston, all are invited to call at the Hyde Park Company's office on 33 Arch Street, the corner of Summer Street. Also, to visit Hyde Park before purchasing. So if you're going to come visit, he just wants your check. He doesn't care what you're buying, whether you're buying land or property. No one can spend an afternoon going over the town and noting all the improvements going forward on every hand. The extensive scale upon which it is laid out, its desirable locality and natural beauties, without being impressed with the conviction that this is surely to take the lead of all other places in the immediate vicinity of Boston. So we're, at that time they had the railroad, Providence, Boston Railroad, if I remember correctly. It was 12.5 cents to go from Boston to Hyde Park. So, now here's the 20th anniversary of Hyde Park, a little poster. And up in the top left-hand corner, you'll see a train. So they're starting to advertise. There's transportation in Hyde Park. There's the mills up in the right-hand corner. The mills is work. There's government and schools and churches down here. And in here, I have the picture. This picture that they use is in the Ponce River, the beauty. I'm sure that time it was really beautiful. And there's a church steeple in the background as well. And that's what they were using on the 20th anniversary of the town. And I think Charles Chick might have been the keynote speaker at that meeting, that dinner meeting that they had. Now here's an interesting picture. In 1868, the population of Hyde Park was 4,136 people, or 460 dwellings. So you see how the town has grown in the 20 years. So 1887, they had 8,900, 8,919, and I did the math here. That's 115% growth since 1868. Now, you come back into 2018, according to the web, the internet, the population of Hyde Park is about 39,000. And by the way, that's an increase of 916% since 1868, just for those mathematicians in the audience. So it's kind of an interesting slide on the growth of the first 20 years. Now this is the seal that they created. And I think the seal was created like in 1899. And it was created by 4 or 5 individuals who were the town fathers at the time. And my grandfather's uncle, John Johnston, was one of the guys that put this together and created this. The seal of Hyde Park, and that's used today. And the Latin, C tenitus profis, means what you begin, finish. So they probably had no idea. Now, we come to the 100th anniversary of Hyde Park, and this is the kind of stuff that they were selling to promote, to get enough money to buy the dinners and all sorts of other jazz, like we have here with the Hyde Park 150. So they were selling, and Bob Fugo, who was a teacher at William Barton Rogers, he also ran the auto school. I think he's now living in Arizona. He chimes in on my Facebook page now and then. He and his students at the William Barton Rogers were selling these to help get enough money to bring the 100th anniversary to town. So it's kind of interesting. I have one of these too. Now this guy, this is John Cleary. This is the name, this is how Cleary Square was named. The actual definition of Cleary Square is the intersection of River Street and Hyde Park Avenue. And it was named for him in 1899. He was killed. He was killed in Santiago, Cuba, in the war down there, the Spanish-American War. I think it was. That's who the Cleary Square is named for. Now you can't see the whole article here, but this is interesting. From Huntington Avenue south to Mattapan, that was Dorchester. So when the 20 associates got together and they went downtown to figure out where the boundaries are and who's going to give up what, they purchased 100 acres at $200 an acre. Correct me if I'm wrong, something like that. So anyway, that got them from Wood Avenue, maybe where Dr. Wolf's place used to be, forward. And so George Washington came to Hyde Park, let's call it Hyde Park / Dorchester. He stood at the intersection of Wood Avenue, at that time it was called Back Street, and his army went and cut down trees in Stony Brook, the Grew Woods, and even Ross Field. They were using Ross Field as a staging area. And what he was getting prepared for was the evacuation of Boston. He wanted to get the British the heck out of Boston. So the real cannons were coming down from Fort Ticonderoga. So he had about 4 or 5 cannons coming down. And then all the trees he cut, he painted black. So when the British started to come into Boston, roll into Boston, not only did they see the 10 cannons from Ticonderoga, they saw 15 to 20 more things that looked like cannons. And that's so when the British saw that, they said, we're out of here. And that's evacuation day. So Hyde Park, Dorchester played a great part in the evacuation of Boston. So this is to celebrate Hyde Park Month. It's 150th year anniversary. And you might have attended the festival the other night, which I couldn't attend, and all sorts of other things. This is actually part of the Hyde Park 150. And in fact, this is the ticket that I was given to go to the George Wright Golf Course. Number 287 and 88.
We had 2,000 people there the other night.
Did you really?
Yes.
That's
That was
awesome.
a good time with that.
Yeah, it was.
I
Yeah.
couldn't make, my father's in the ICU, so.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, but
That's all right.
it was a
But
fabulous time.
It was one of
Yeah.
those things where if you don't participate, I mean, I saw all the everyone's photos, just crowds of
Yeah.
people having a blast, there was bands and stuff. Okay, a day at the races. You might remember the Reedville racetrack. And that was the beginning, we probably take the car in and walk in to the Reedville racetrack. And this is the grandstand. Now, this is the clubhouse. The grandstand held 3,400 people at the time. And all the folks from New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, this was the place to be. And you see,
Is that what just harness racing?
what's
Was it
that?
harness racing?
Harness, well, that's a good point. It first became, you're making me go ahead of myself.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's all right.
I hope you
There was,
remember.
okay, there was harness racing, there was automobiles, there was motorcycles,
Yeah.
they even flew planes out of it. But I mean, you'll see, and I've forgotten the actual order. Now here's the way the stands looks
Wow.
when the place was filled. Now look at just an idea. Look at all the people, well dressed, they had top hats on. I mean, these were the New York people coming into town, Vermont, all over the place. This was this was the place to be. There was no other place around that had the racing capabilities. Now this is a sign, a little memorial. Do you know what this is?
I don't.
And it's somewhere on Prescott or on Prescott
Yeah.
Street, Greenville. I went looking for it, couldn't find it. And I found this online somewhere, and it basically says this was the site of Greenville Trotting Park, 1890s to 1920s, where harness racing's greatest horses, drivers, and owners competed in the world's finest 2-minute stop pointer and Lou Dillon were the ones that broke the 2-minute mark. It started out as a half-mile track, because then they made it into they started as a quarter mile, then they went to a half mile, and they went to a mile. And this is stop. This is the harness racing. So the harness racing was first. You're right. This is stop one. He broke the 2-minute 6. This is Lou Dillon, the other trotter that broke the record. And here's an example. You see all the guys all the bookies. I mean the gentlemen. You know. Here's some more pictures. This was 1917.
Okay. Wow.
Awesome pictures. Now, this was a plane. This was called the war plane, and it was created. B.F. Sturtevant in Reedville was building these planes for the war effort. So he would come in, and this is probably late 1920s, maybe early 30s, when the track was starting to deteriorate. And he would come in, do touch and goes. He would fly his planes, landing and taking off out of the Reedville racetrack. I think 1930, mid to late 30s is when the track actually went its way. Now, after harness racing, they also had motorcycles. This guy, Teddy Carroll, he was on the Power Plus, 1950 in Reedville. And it's one of the many things that they did. Barney Oldfield, he was one of the famous drivers. He was the first guy to run a mile track and do 60 miles an hour the entire way around. Now, Barney was also asked to leave the racing industry years later because he was so erratic in his driving. In fact, when I was learning how to drive, my father said to me, "You quit driving like Barney Oldfield and pay attention to the road." So that's a good.
Yep.
He's not looking for a fan.
I mean, this guy's got all these awards when he was asked to leave the racing industry. Now here's the catfish.
Yeah.
That's number 15. I got this guy's name. The guy's name was Stubblefield in the catfish. This was 1932. Here's a close-up look of his car, Stubblefield,
Stubblefield.
and the cash. Hey, Stubblefield. Here's some more. Now we're dealing with auto racing. So here's the pit. And here's what happens, during the auto racing, somebody got hit and the car blew up and there's a fire. And you hope nobody got hurt, but that's just some guys trying to rescue the car. Now business, no town survives without business. So this guy, his name is Frank Blake Webster, had a taxidermist, but he was also big in the town. He was part of the government of the town as well. And he had a taxidermist place over on West Street. It was called Hazelton. It's a little bit beyond West Street on the bridge. That's where his business was. He was a taxidermist. And he also traded these kind of animals nationwide. Aronis' restaurant over near Hyde, the police station. This guy, it's Manny and Angie Aronis. And the old story that I think Hal, you told me was, even if you went in for a cup of coffee, they ended up feeding you. And here's a picture of them. Now, Manny was the former boxing commissioner of the state of Massachusetts. So you see up in the shelves there, all the boxing memorabilia. So he knew all the big fighters at the time, and he shook hands with who?
Jack Johnson, John
Jack
L. Sullivan.
Johnson, which was pardoned by President Trump.
Yeah, Jack Johnson, yeah, recently. Right?
Yeah, recently.
He was his towel boy, actually.
Yeah. So now here's where the post office is now.
Yep.
This is the Kennedy block. Kennedy clothing store. You see the River Street Gordon Avenue bridge up in the top right. And this is the guy, one of the owners of Kennedy's. It's H. Stanhope Angelica. His father actually started the business.
Yeah, they were there until the 60s.
Were they?
Yeah.
And I think they were bought out by
Hyde Park Sports went in there after that.
They went into Boston, didn't they?
Yeah, but there's a
Yeah.
it's Van something bought them.
Van Heusen, perhaps?
Van Heusen, maybe.
Yeah. No, but I remember in high school going to Kennedy's there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now remember Dottie's?
Of course.
Who doesn't? Who didn't go there after church or
Yeah.
after work, after school? Grab a cup of coffee. Burns Brothers, this is 1281 Hyde Park Avenue, furniture.
It's a church now.
Funny how that happens. Royal Brothers, this is 1248 River Street, 1948. This is probably in the same block as Kennedy's, right?
I don't know.
Is that the
1248
bowling
River
alley?
Street.
I don't know where that is.
Is that the bowling alley? Is that the ice cream store and the bowling alley? Across the street from Dr. What's his name?
Well, it probably were near Papagino's, is
Yeah,
now,
I think Kennedy's was like 1281 or something, River Street.
Yeah, that's the even side, yeah, because we just live at 1340.
All right, this was the building on Harvard and River Street, 1870. It was built by Dwight, one of the 20 associates. I can't remember his name. Dwight Bridge, one of the 20 associates. And he's the guy that started it. There's the first Hyde Park Library at the corner here. Somebody with their books. And on the top floor was a photographer called Barrett. He took all the pictures of the old folks in the town. And that was, I think that's where, wasn't where the Muni was.
I think it's where Salon Capri is.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
Now the Muni, all that land, as I was telling you, was owned by Elijah Greenwood at the time. Well, he owned it all the way down to Stafford Street. And this is the Fairmount Block. Tomlinson Dry Goods.
Still there.
Building's still there. This is the Ponset Block. Now on the left, I think would that be the Baptist Church?
The First Baptist.
First
I
Baptist,
thought,
yeah. Got a better picture of the First Baptist coming up. This is the Boots and Shoes that's on Fairmount Avenue as well. It's one of the early businesses.
Wow.
Now this is another, now if you had a piano and you moved, you call these guys. I thought this guy here was the Hermit of Hyde Park.
Ah.
And I was quickly reminded that it wasn't. So it just looked like, the Hermit.
It does.
And so he was staying at S.T. Allen and piano. There's another business. By the way, can everybody see, even though I'm standing here? Should I get around the other side? Okay, now here's this is where Joe's Barber Shop is today. That's where your dad had his Fallon's Pharmacy was right here. You'll see the Fairmount
The
Theater,
Fairmount, yeah.
DuPont Paint.
Yep.
This is probably somewhere in the early 50s, you think? Early to mid 50s?
By the cars, yeah.
And this is that thing, I can see it says Fallon's Pharmacy here, really. So your dad was. that's your
Well, he
dad's shop.
bought it in '66, but I think the store opened in the early '50s.
Yeah.
There was another Fallon's, but it wasn't his.
Now, this is the post office where the RCN building used to be.
Fallon?
RCN building is over on Hyde Park Avenue, across from store 24 or 7-Eleven, whatever it is today.
That's gone.
Now, this is the, this is the Fairmount Post Office, which also had many businesses as well in there. This guy was on 734 to 38 River Street, Stony Brook Motors, the 62 Hawk. Studebaker authorized sales and service. Remember Jim's bike shop?
Mm-hmm.
His bike shop first was over on the Kennedy building at the top here. Then he moved over to Fairmount.
That I remember.
And this was before, this was the Baptist church was right next to him.
Yeah.
And then years later, in 1970, the Baptist church burned down. In 1973, they put the firehouse in, and then Jim was still there. I think someone told me he's living in Florida.
He's still up. Wow. He always had a pipe every time. I remember.
Here's a business on 171 Fairmount, the Model Railroad Depot.
Yeah.
Now, here's a town hall that was up on Gordon Avenue. So if you went up River Street, over the bridge, took a right. And I have another picture of it, you'll see it from a better standpoint. But they brought this building to Hyde Park in pieces. And, you know, on a truck or something. And that became the town hall. Here's the Muni. The Muni building was built, became part of Boston, Hyde Park was part of Boston in 1912. So the Muni building was built like 1913, 1914, somewhere in that neck of the woods. Emmanuel's Ice Cream. This is like Ron's ice cream back then. Good ice cream, homemade stuff. He catered to all the Fairmount and Milton areas, so all the hoity-toity people that could afford homemade ice cream. And he lived at 1081 River Street, and that's a picture of his truck. And there's his business, his house, top right. Alice Chalmers. And here's a member of my group, Ed Toller. His dad must have said he took that picture with him and Alice Chalmers in the background.
And that was a big fire when that went out.
Yeah,
Sure
there it is
was.
now. There it is.
There's the
I
fire.
remember the fire.
April 14th, 1974 is when the
I
Alice
remember
Chalmers
that
burned
too.
down.
We'd already moved out though. They were already gone.
Oh, were they? It was an empty building?
Yeah, it was empty, yeah.
A little lightning maybe?
No, they had relocated. They moved down to the south where they're
And
still
then,
on.
before that, August 5 of 69, the Stop and Shop warehouse went up.
Yeah, that I don't remember.
And there's Westinghouse.
There's Sturdivant's, Westinghouse, yeah.
Yeah.
I knew Sturdivant's, my dad worked there.
Sure.
He worked on the turbine engines
Okay.
and during World War II.
My Otis Gary worked as an engineer for Sterling. And then he also worked for Tilliston and Holliston. Now, French's block is over on Fairmount. That's where the RTW, the Riverside Theater Works, is today. And he had this whole block burnt down at one time. And that's Leroy French who owned that building. In fact, if you go inside the Riverside Theater, you'll see on the wall French's Opera. There's a sign still in there from French's Opera. And the Masons were a very big part of Hyde Park as well. Everybody was it was a very religious town at the time. And this is the Masonic block. If you see here, this is right where it's, here's the church, Christ Church.
Ah, okay.
And then the rest of this building was a Masonic building. That burned down. Here's the original drawing of the Masonic temple back in the day, and then they created the building. In fact, this drawing shows the Masonic building at like 1883 to 1915, when the building was actually constructed. Here's the Hyde Park Library. and the fire station. It's at that Central Fire. So that's, what is that, Winthrop Street? Winthrop and Harvard Avenue. And I paid someone $10 to drive down the street with their old cars. And here's the library more in a contemporary view. Before Menino put his,
Bad tissue.
there's the library as we know it today.
Yeah.
So the growth of the Hyde Park Library. And here's a postcard back in 1912. Notice the trolley tracks on River Street. And that's the YMCA as we know it, with the pool area. And this was a plaque that was, somebody found it in their basement. And this was given to the Hyde Park YMCA. They actually gave the money for the gym. The Current Events Club of Hyde Park in 1902 furnished the Y with a gym. And that's a plaque. It's still hanging in somebody's gym, or somebody's garage. Remember Richie's Rizzoco, Hyde Park Pharmacy? That's the pharmacy is before Richie bought it. Richie Rizzoco was there on Chesterfield Street eating an apple. He's one of the icons of Hyde Park. And that's his Richie's as we sort of know it, more contemporary view. There's Richie's as you drive by. Up top is the pharmacy counter. Here's the luncheonette down below. Now, the only reason I enclose this picture is this guy's name is B.B. Chandler. And he passed away in 1866, so it's 2 years before the town was incorporated. And what's funny was, he was the first one to use ether in his office. And he died weeks ago because of nervous prostration.
Yeah.
I had no idea what that means, but he was worried about the bills or something, I don't know. But Dr. B.B. Chandler. Now, Pope Automobiles, we used to manufacture automobiles up in Hyde Park on Business Street. You look at Pope Automobiles, it's a real extravagant website, and I picked two of the, and I can't tell you what kind of automobiles they are, but they're just neat. So we used to build these, Pope Robinsons used to build these in Hyde Park. Lodgtons.
Robertson.
Now I have here it is. This is an advertisement from Lodgtons. I don't have it here, but looking at you getting 17 cents a pound for smoked shoulder, corned beef. Celery, 10 cents a bunch. Come on.
When you posted this, someone goes, "Roosters? Who eats roosters?" I laughed.
So it's kind of like that. These were the days, I guess, my friends. Now here's B.F. Sturtevant. He's the guy that owned the mills. And then he was 1833 to 1890. He tried to get his son to take over. And here's the plant. The top picture is a postcard that they were using to advertise the business. And then here's the actual plant in Reedville below. Tilliston and Hollingsworth. The only thing that remains of this plant now, if you go down, you drive down River Street, before you get to Wood Avenue, you'll see like a red brick building, sort of like it's beaten up and it's old and decrepit.
Well, they corrupted the river.
Yeah? You know something? To the right, there's a Price Right.
A Price Right, yeah.
And then there's a dollar store.
Right.
Yeah.
Dollar Tree.
That's
In the
right.
middle,
Yeah.
on the ground, is a monument that was at one time at Wood Avenue and River Street. In an accident, somebody took it out. It was a monument stating the first house in Hyde Park was 1866 or something like that, 1856. And I'm trying to get the Historical Society as well as the politicians to put that somewhere so it's writing to preserve our history. And it was given by, that little monument was given by the Historical Society to Hyde Park back in 1903, so it's been there for some time. Now these are what the mill workers. This is it's kind of a sad picture, but these are the people that work the mills. This is 1890, mill workers. I'm surprised that you don't see children in there. Now, this is once housed a post office, and in the Tribune, it was a mystery photo. The reason being is because the building is still there today.
Sure is.
White City. They try to take it the same angle. This is Pythian Hall. This is, I think, that building we saw before. A little bit older. This is a little bit more, we move ahead maybe 10, 15, 20, 30 years. Ron's Ice Cream, of course, become an icon in Hyde Park. The Hyde Park 150 ice cream, the new flavor was Cleary Square Crunch, I think.
You can still get a 5-cent cone over there
Oh, yeah.
for $5.
No kidding. All right, McCrory's. That's kind of a trip back in time, huh? And now this is Piece of Pizza.
Yeah.
In
Michael A.
19...
Valerio.
Yep.
Michael A. Valerio, he started that in Cambridge. And he sold it to two people that were, I visited there because I was with the New England Telephone Company at the time. We were trying to give him his $250 deposit back for the payphone.
Wow.
Because that's how they operated those days, with the payphone. I was looking everywhere for this guy, and it turns out the two people that he sold the place to, they would go in and make enough pizza and enough money to go to the bar and drink. They'd shut the doors down. And that, after that, I found him whipping pizzas up in the air right in the corner here. And it's still Big Papagino's now. I mean, it's,
Wow.
it's what do they call it now?
So it became
Papagino's,
Papagino's in
yeah.
1968.
Yeah, there it is.
Yep.
And this is during the parade. You see probably the most precious blood band, and then the police and their horses. And here's the Mug and Muffin. That's probably 50s, late 50s, early 60s.
Yeah.
Brigham's.
No, it'd be 70s. The Liggett's was there.
Oh, Liggett's, okay.
Yeah. Up until the early
I
70s.
took my first date to Brigham's.
This one?
Yeah. Yeah, it didn't go well.
We didn't have a second date, huh?
We didn't have butterscotch.
All right, now how do I get rid of this?
June
Just use the arrow, maybe just advance the slide and should
No, it's not working.
click exit. You see the exit? There you go.
There we go.
Okay, Hyde Park Sports. Remember the blizzard of 78? That's the Hyde Park Sports before the blizzard, and there's after the blizzard.
I'm gonna leave, I'll call you back. Sorry, I'll call you back.
And there's Edison Delicatessen. Is that River Street or Hyde Park Avenue?
Hyde Park Ave, yeah.
And there's Moe's.
Oh, yeah.
Over there at Fairmont Avenue, Maurice Freeman. And there's Joe. Joe just retired, right?
Oh, yeah.
Now there's Elvis.
He's still there.
Is that Freddie
He's still
Marola in the
there.
back? Who's that? No,
Joe's son took over, right?
that's an old picture. New picture.
Okay. Get back to his grandson. Now here's Colin's Restaurant. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Colin's Restaurant. This is a parade too. Colin's Restaurant. Now, this is on the back row is Danny, Frank, William Harlow, and seated. And this gentleman here, John, I don't know his name, but this gentleman here is with Harlow Lumber. This gentleman here is Hyde Park Savings Bank. In the back are the founders of Colin's Restaurant. And here's Frank and Doug outside the Colin's Restaurant. Nice car. I don't know what year that is.
I was never in there. What did they sell in Collins Restaurant? Were they full
Yes,
service?
they served breakfast, lunch, dinner, cream
They
cheese.
did? Ah,
Cream
okay.
cheese and olive sandwiches, those are big.
Uh-huh.
And Frank smoked a cigar and he used to fight a lot. It was fun. Go in there, you get entertainment, you know.
Oh,
What was that?
right on River.
Right next door, actually, it's right
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Just,
That looks like a
yeah, there. I went to school with one of the granddaughters.
Here's the Collins baseball team that they sponsored. This is like C1950. You know, in the lower right, you can't see it, but the lower right was one of the Collins boards. Here's Hyde Park Savings. Notice at the time it's a walk-up window, which is still there. At that time there was no drive-through. And the next is Central Pain.
Right.
With the Cantor brothers.
Yep.
I think Neil just passed.
They're all gone.
They're all gone, yeah.
Yeah. Wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they lived in Reedville, didn't they? Or Neil lived in
No,
Reedville?
originally in Fairmount. In fact, one of the 20 Associates houses.
No kidding.
Yeah, that was their original house.
I went to school with one of the sons who died. He died just when
And
he was
his
in high
Bob
school.
Hugo's,
Yeah.
he was
Suicide.
a auto store
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
1860. This is a thing that the 100th anniversary, he posted in the Tribune. This is Liggett's Drug Store.
Okay.
That's where the Mug and Muffin.
Right, right.
Yeah. There's Woolworths.
Woolworth,
Yeah. Which
My
became
father was
McCrory's.
gonna show you that. I don't know if I can. Now here's the Woolworths menu.
God.
50 cents for a ham sandwich, 30 cents for a ham sandwich, grilled cheese,
Wow.
35 cents. Everything's relative, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Now here's the Lowney building at the corner over here. This is the way it used to be. And here's what the plans that Dr. Lowney had submitted to build a place for doctors and whoever else was in the lawyers probably.
That was the furniture store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
My uncle built that.
No kidding.
Really,
Yeah,
yeah.
Corsi's.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, wasn't there a bowling alley there too,
Wasn't that
upstairs?
across the street?
No, there was one on the second floor.
Second
No kidding.
floor,
That's
upstairs.
something I didn't
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
yeah, that thing was taken, how long?
There's White's Market, bus, this is probably 50s, the electric bus they called it. The Iron Horse.
Trackless trolley.
Churches. MPB.
Yeah.
Now here's the 10 pastors that have been in the church. Of course, the present Father Coyne. And I was taking pictures of the Blue Hills Collaborative meeting way back in the early part of last year. I bumped into Father Coyne. I used to play hockey street hockey for St. Angela's Church when he was the pastor there. And then his Father Nolan, Father Lyons, Bishop Riley, Monsignor Moran, Monsignor Crowley, Father Grady, Father Stanton, Monsignor Chittick,
Okay.
and then last is Father Barry, who came with the church back in 1880.
And Father Coyne knows everybody.
Yeah, he knows everybody.
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 It's just amazing.
You know, but he's probably got to be one of the best talkers I've ever met in my life.
Is the Chittick, was that named after the
Monsignor
Chittick?
Chittick,
The
yeah.
school, okay.
Yeah, yeah,
This is a charity of Nazareth.
right,
Here's the convent.
right. I had them
That's
at
on Maple
Archbishop
Street, right?
Williams.
Maple and Oaks.
Yeah, the same order.
This is the St. Anne Church Knights of the Altar, 1969.
Yeah.
What year?
This is 1969. You can't see it, but it's 1960. This is the altar boys at St. Anne's. Anyway,
You can take any of those slides.
now this is a guy. His name was Emery Stevens Burke. He was the pastor at the time of the Hyde Park Methodist Church, which is where the Menino Art Center is today. The map, they call it.
Oh, okay.
He was holy. So he's a dapper old fellow. And this is the Baptist Church. I think this is 1949.
Yeah, I remember that.
Uh,
Do you remember that?
The one in Fairmount?
Yeah.
I remember when it burned
that
down.
as well.
too,
Yeah.
So it burned down in 1970.
Okay, so sure I
I remember
remember.
bobbing for apples
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
in the youth group.
Here's the first congregation. Now, the interesting story, you'll see a picture of him later. The first congregational church, this is like late 1800s, mid to late 1800s.
That was built, I think, like 1906. So it's-
This was?
The date's right on, you can see the date, I think, outside somewhere.
But you told me the story. The man that shot John Wilkes Booth went to this church.
Oh.
And you'll see a picture. His name is Boston Corbett.
And where is this?
Webster and River Street, right
Webster
next
and
to
River Street.
YMCA. That's,
Ah.
but that's the,
The back.
yeah, it's
Oh, okay.
number 6 is the
Okay.
official address.
Okay, I
That's
know where it-
Webster Street,
okay.
yeah.
And this is Christ Episcopal. You see the
Yep,
steeple of
sure.
MPB in the back.
Yep.
I think that was a
Presbyterian
McKean White.
I think you're right, yeah. Yep.
River
Stand
Street.
for it.
Now, St. Adelbert's Church, Pope John Paul II.
He's the one that told me about that.
Yeah.
He came and slept there. He studied at MIT and Harvard, and he found out that they were not teaching the Christian way of living. They were not, like the university was supposed to teach the Christian life. There he is.
Yeah. That was an awesome story.
9 Days to Save the World is a movie that you ought to see.
Wow.
It shows how he eliminated communism in the spirit of the Lady of Fatima beginning in 1917.
Wow.
We just had the 100th anniversary, so there is supposed to be a promise of world peace for 1,000 years.
Oh, goodness.
Wow. It's a great story.
Well, it's happening.
Military, police, and fire.
There was a priest named Father Sipek who was at St. Adalbert's
Yeah.
too, and he taught at Boston College.
No kidding.
Yeah.
He was a childhood friend of the Pope.
Wow.
Monsignor Sipek.
Didn't
Yeah.
the Pope say
Okay, I knew of his father Sipek.
He made him keep the church open until the Monsignor passed.
Yeah, once you get past that,
he
exactly
made a
right.
promise. St. John Paul II, when he was the Pope, he said to him, "You're going to have this church until you die." Because he was concerned because he was growing older.
Yeah.
And, he felt like
Wow.
He lived to the
his
mid-90s.
spirit is still
Yeah,
in
he
that
was
house.
old. Yeah.
Well, here's the first ambulance.
Oh, yeah. That was the milkman.
It's only for one.
When I was a kid.
Really?
First ambulance.
And then here's the Hyde Park Fire Department, 1904.
Wow.
And here's the hose number 2 in Reedville, 1907.
Wow.
And this is probably where they got horsepower from.
Yeah.
Yeah, phrase. I'm gonna move on. The first one, this is the fire station on Winthrop Street. It was newly built about 1910. So this is the central fire station over here on Winthrop and Hyde. Time. Now here's a one-horse house. This was the fire station at Milton, Sprague and Milton.
See the bridge.
And there's the bridge right there on the left-hand side. Talk about a one-horse town.
I'll say.
And there's still foundation there. I think if you look over there's kind of foundation from this stuff. That's a better picture of the central fire station. Now this is one of the fire people. This is his name was Charles Carlton with the Hyde Park Fire Department, 1905. And by the way, that's not a hearing aid, folks. That's a
That's a
step back.
Cuba.
Now, back in when they had 1904, they had a national encampment. They brought all the men in from wearing their specific uniforms. These residents, the man on the left was like the Spanish American, the man in the middle is the Civil War, and I forget what but they had an encampment of all of the Grand Army of the Republic came in, and it was a big to do. And a lot of these folks from Hyde Park. Amatucci Playground down here on Hyde Park Avenue. Joseph died in 1945 at the age of 20. And those were his parents. So they memorialized him. Same with Corporal Wesley G. Ross. He was the first person from Hyde Park who died during the Pearl Harbor. He actually was injured at December 7th, 1941. He died April 6, 1942. So Ross Field's way down like Westminster and Huntington. I live in front of the. And this is the Sons of the Veterans Fife and Drum Corps, Camp 146. This is at the Hyde Park Library. This is General Carrington. He was the boss of General Custer. And he's buried in Fairview Cemetery. Now, here's a real interesting picture. This is Reedville, and this is the headquarters of General Richard A. Pierce, which is the railroad tracks. They took over somebody's house for his headquarters. In fact, here's a closer look at that. Gentleman holding the United States flag, and just a really interesting photograph.
So it was a Civil War
Civil War, 1862.
general.
Yeah. This is Camp Meigs.
Okay. Out of Reedville.
Ebenezer
Okay.
Paul,
Yeah.
the Paul Bridge. Well, the story is that the government took his land, and he actually eminent domain, 10 acres was given to the government to form Camp Meigs for the 54th, the 44th, and the 8th, or the 5th or 8th Cavalry, from 1861 to 1865. And this is a bunch of Hyde Park War, Grand Old Army.
You know, I just finished reading Grant, and we don't realize, but 650,000 guys died in the Civil War. 650,000. Crazy, crazy.
And they said, war is hell.
Yeah.
War is hell.
Yeah,
Yep.
highest number of any war.
Now here's the Cannon Carrington, the Cannoneers in 1891. This is Fairview's, up in the Fairview Cemetery area. And every probably July 4th, they would get out there and shoot the cannons. And,
Is this when he died, or?
Well, it's probably a remembrance of the war. And, you know, when the first time they shot was a real cannonball by mistake. You know, it's tough to explain in today's world. That's just them showing, firing the cannon again. And this is Camp Meigs Memorial Park when they had the cannons up there, the big cannons. Now it's a little cannon still there?
Yes. They need that back.
Yeah. And now this is the Grand Army of the Republic, Post 121, the Graham Post, and the home of David W. Lewis. He lived in Marion, Mass. He was commander of Post 121. He was also the director and one of the founders of the Hyde Park Cooperative Bank.
Okay.
You might see him. And the railroad, talk about the railroad. This is rebuilt around 1923. Train accident.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the circus train. That never happened, did it?
I don't know. I remember seeing this on your site, though.
Yep. Now this is rebuilt 1925. Notice how well dressed people are during a train wreck.
Yes. Let me put my hat on and go down and see the train wreck.
In my suit and tie. Here's rebuilt 1931.
Wow.
You see it's raining. Now this is the New England Division Fairmount Station at the time. This is probably early 1900s, 1905-ish. Now remember I was talking about Hazelwood. This is just north of West Street. And that building on the right is the taxidermy business.
Ah,
Hazelwood train station. Here's Fairmount Station, Hyde Park, Mass. Probably early 1900s. And here's the train yard. They called it the Boneyard in Greenville. Very early picture. The date. Now, if you ever get a chance, there's a book out there called The Braunston Ghost with Mary McDonough. A friend of mine, John Rao, R-A-U, wrote a book about his family. And his great-great-grandmother was the first hack in Boston, Hyde Park in Greenville. And she was a cabbie with a horse and buggy. And his family actually owned Paul Revere's house before it became Paul Revere. That's how far back it goes, the family goes. It's Braunston Ghost and Mary McDonough. And that's Mary McDonough. Mame McDonough, they call her.
so she took people from the train to the racetrack.
And she was also one of the ones that, the guy that, I don't remember, I forget the gentleman's name, the man who started the Blue Hills Observatory, she would take him up there, up the mountain. Which at the time, now he's also, one of his other grandfathers owned a shop which catered to taxidermy and a lot of rattlesnakes. It was the place was loaded with them. So Anyway, this is the Phillips Brooks Memorial Library. It was dedicated Wednesday evening, October 14th, 1896. And he was from Harvard, right? A Harvard preacher. I thought you told me that story.
Well, the church, right, it's in downtown Boston there, there's a statue of him there, right? Back Bay.
And that's the library looked in Greenville. It's across
Copley
from
Square.
Cappy's, right? That was across from Cappy's.
Yeah. You know, Brooks, Susan Brooks married Roland Gray Jr. and of the firm of Brooks and Gray in Boston. But they lived in Milton Hill.
Was this a
Here's the,
religious library, or what, was it
It was a
religious
library,
books?
yeah. It was a reading, they called it a reading room at the time.
But all kinds of books.
Yeah, all kinds of books. And,
Is
as far as
that
I know-
behind the church, that building? Is that the building behind the church? That's
Yeah,
on,
that's exactly
yeah,
right.
Yeah, okay.
Now, this is the Frank Kunkel Company in Reedville. They were iron workers. People were complaining to me that, hey, we have to have the Kunkel Company in there because all night, all day, all we heard was banging. And they had a forge over there. This was the Frank Kunkel Steel Yard in Reedville. There was the workers. This might have been kind of like a mill kind of thing where people were treated, not too well. Workers in 1905. Now, Mauricio's Market. This man, I was reading an article, I think I posted on the website. He would bring to the Menino parties, block parties, 500 pounds of homemade sausage. Imagine that.
Yeah.
And he was the king of sausage. I mean,
King of
you couldn't get any better than this one.
He's still alive, right?
No, he
passed
died,
away.
yeah.
But just recently.
Yeah, not too long ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was like a Hyde Park landmark, Mauricio's Market. Here's the Engine 49, Reedville. Patch. This is the look of the big blue from the Foul Meadows in Reedville. Walcott Square, probably early 1900s.
Wow.
The Slater Block, which is still there. Walcott Square. This is 1920s. Paul's Bridges. I was talking about Ebenezer Paul having to give up his land and named the bridge after him. BC Bakery.
Yeah.
Now, 4th of July. The first picture is 1915, and this is the 1950s. And the person who gave me the picture, her brother was circled her brother before he fell.
He's circled.
Holy smokes. They call this the Fountain of Youth. It's one of these big pictures that's always from Walcott Square. Right across from Cappy's. There's the Reedville Post Office. Probably the smallest, someone told me the smallest post office out there.
Yeah.
They're always threatening to close it,
Oh,
too.
really?
Yeah.
And there's the Reedville Bridge back in 1895. That's them building the bridge.
Wow.
Roger owns that building.
And that's the bridges that look back in, that's the bridge from 1895 to 1907. That's a sailor in Walcott Square. There's Sam the Hardware Man on the right. There's the Sprague Street Bridge, October 15, 1945, they're repairing the bridge. Schools. Now, this is an interesting shot because this is actually, the school was built in 1804. What the crowd is doing there, the Hyde Park Historical Society left the library, walked down to this building, and Charles Chick was the president of the Hyde Park Historical Society at the time. And so he's speaking there, talking about the school, the historical society, and so forth and so on. These are all people from Dorchester, Hyde Park. It's a really, really good shot. Charles Chick was the keynote speaker. And this is the Amos Webster School up on Hilton Street, which was closed because it wasn't safe for children. It burnt down eventually.
Back to that Butler School, that was made into a regular house, probably in the 50s. I remember we used to go down to the Doyle playground, and as we went by, we could see that Doyle, that Butler School being turned into a
Yeah, it's a
home,
shame.
but it had been left
The stories that that place goes out. It was
to rack
unheated,
and
by the
ruin.
way. And that's the Amos Webster School that burnt down on Hilton Street.
Yeah, I don't know that one at all.
There's the
The Channing is still there.
Channing School on Sunnyside Street.
Still there.
November 1931.
Did you? Okay.
I went to that.
I went there.
Ah,
This is the Damon School. This predates St. Anne's School. This is 1947. And there's a big story about the Damons and why it was called Damon School. It's a big estate, and they named it Damon. And then one of the priests from St. Anne's bought the school, brought it, brought the name. And I think this became St. Anne's. I think. I'm not quite sure. This is the first Hyde Park High School. And it was, the first diplomas were awarded in 1873. And it was annexed because, keep in mind, when that sign I showed you, the first 20 years of Hyde Park, people are starting to, this was the country. There was woods, there was, water. And this was the country where people were flocking into the town. And the school, the population and children were growing faster than our school systems could provide. So the first diplomas were awarded in 1873, and they annexed the school in 1899, and then they had to close the school. I think the first, I read somewhere, the first Hyde Park High School might have been the Fairmount School. May have been. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure of
I'm
that.
still working on that.
Was this on Central Ave? Where was
This was
this?
Central Avenue.
Yeah, okay.
And that's the first, this is the class of 1890. You know anybody?
Gay 90s,
yeah.
right?
Okay, 90.
Yeah.
When the gay 90s were
think what they wear today.
lively
Yeah, I know.
and alive.
Yeah.
Everyone comes to school dressed up those
Yeah,
days.
yeah, I know it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
respect.
No halter tops.
Or short pants, or sneakers. Now this is my grandmother.
Wow.
She graduated, this is her Hyde Park High School, 1918 graduation picture.
Wow.
1918, wow.
Dorothy Garys, I told you about the Garys.
Okay.
And this is her 50th reunion in 1968. You can't quite see her, she's over here in the left. And she looks like she really wants to be there. She has a scowl on her face.
Really?
So this is 1960. I don't know where the picture was taken or whether it was held, but that's this is Hyde Park High School.
Just before busing.
Completed in
Yeah, this is,
1921.
the school was actually finished in 1928.
Wow.
So they had to keep building and building and building. Now this is 1928. Look at the cars.
Yeah, it didn't look much different when I went there. I graduated in 53.
And it still looks good.
It's,
It doesn't look that different, does it?
Those are the kind of buildings that, it's a shame when they tear them down.
Yeah.
My mother's Milton High School was torn down.
Yeah,
It got what
yeah.
looks like a Hollywood facade.
Yeah,
Facade,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Made to last about 20 years.
Now these are the Hyde Park High School cadets in 1942 marching under the State House.
Wow.
Here in the center.
That's on,
Middle of the war.
Middle of the war.
That's right by our club
Now
there.
here's the
That's
cadets,
right by
they're
the
marching,
Union
this
Club,
is
yeah.
probably Central Avenue and Westminster area.
yeah.
Getting all our kids prepared for war.
1943.
Yep.
Now, anybody hear of a term called the cellar rats?
Oh, yeah.
It's like
All right,
Hyde Park High.
that's
This is one of the
Machine
this is one of the
shop.
shop machines.
Machine
So,
shop in the
one time I posted on my Facebook page, I said, let's have the cellar rats introduce themselves. Everyone's coming out of the woodwork. Yeah, I was a cellar rat, I was down the basement.
The sense of pride. Yeah,
Such a-
yeah, yeah.
On their resume, cellar rat. This was Hyde Park High School in 1945. Every year they would take the senior class and go up and take a picture of them. And these are the folks that died or gave their lives for humanity from 1941 to 1945. I don't know where this plaque is today, but
I
it's a
don't
picture.
either.
It could be still inside the school, I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah, too many.
Oh, what's this, busing?
This is 1974, of course.
Yeah,
Oh.
we're into busing.
We had no problem at all in the 50s.
You know, I never talk about this picture. I just
Yeah.
I get a lot of feedback from the audience, but I
Yeah.
never mention what it is, and because it's pretty obvious.
It's hurtful to locals.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
It is.
yeah,
It's the dark,
Yeah.
the dark period,
yeah.
dark side. Here's a Hyde Park High School class of 1967, 20th year reunion, 1987. Here's a Hyde Park High School basketball schedule. They were 18-0 that year. They played South Boston, Dorchester, all over the place, Latin. Here's the Fairmount School at the time. Greenwood School, 1878, before it burnt down. That's the Greenwood School as we know it.
Yeah.
Now, the Greenwood School kindergarten, 1939. That's my mother right here. And my father is,
Oh,
he's a sort of the captain.
Ah, Love at first sight.
Yeah. So they first met and they fell in love. Here's the Eliot Greenwood School in 1943. Here's my mother, second on the left, and there's my father right above her, the first one in the middle. Before my father went to detention, he took the picture. This is what's hung above the Grew School over on Gordon Avenue. It's hanging in the Hyde Park Historical Society today. This is the Grew School. It was built in 1871. This photo was taken like circa 1880. This is the Grew School as we know it. Now this guy, George Dickerson, he was the first person to have a grammar school orchestra anywhere. And the title of the picture, he's a music director. All schools in the Hyde Park area in Roxbury. He was musical director from 1894 and I think to 1930, early 30s. That's him actually as a younger age, and that's him as the director of music. There it is, the first grammar school orchestra in Massachusetts in 1894.
Wow.
The Grew School. And that's the Roxbury Center School Orchestra, public rehearsal. Is the Hemingway School. Hyde Park High School number 2. William Barton Rogers.
Okay, and I had mentioned, and you responded that I asked the mayor last week what's going to happen to this place because it's empty, and he told me it's going to be senior citizen housing
good.
as soon as they transfer ownership from the school department to the city. And I said, well, isn't that a walk across the street? But he looked at me like I was crazy, but I don't know.
Yeah,
So we'll see.
He says it was Bouncer. Who's that guy?
But it's the same question I asked a year ago and got the same answer, so there you go.
All right, this guy, John Daniels, he was the principal of William Barton Rogers in 1978. In fact, his son and I went to Severian Brothers together.
I think he's still alive, and his wife was in the school department too.
Yeah.
He was the principal.
Mary
They live in
Mary
Denver.
Daniels, yeah. Yeah.
Here's the William Barton Rogers class of 1954. The Franklin D. Roosevelt School on Needham Road in Hyde Park. Most Precious Blood. That's the Corps We Love.
They were the, yeah.
Here's the Most Precious
They were the
Crusaders Drum
CYO
Bugle Corps, the Steps of the Muni.
Crusaders.
Yeah.
Then they went to
St. Anne's. St. Raphael's, 1888.
Oh, goodness.
St. Raphael's again.
Yeah.
I didn't know
This
that.
is St.
remember looking
Raphael's
like
School,
that, yeah.
decorated for its Golden Jubilee in 1938.
Wow.
And these Sisters of Charity came in from all over the country. There's probably only 50 folks or 50
Yeah.
sisters there. St. Raphael's School in 1938. The Weld School. Streets of Hyde Park. That's Sally's Rocks. That's the West Street Bridge being repaired. Now here's what I was telling you about Gordon Avenue. Here's the town hall. The first building on the left. That's the town hall. They brought it in pieces. My grandfather grew up at 60 Gordon Avenue. It was a dirt road at the time.
Is that where the Grimke sisters first voted, being the first
That's
women in
exactly right.
America? Okay. I wasn't sure if that was the building.
Yeah, they were marching. They
Yeah.
folks and torches. Now this is Gordon. This is about 10 years later. And on the left, I think this is the other end of Gordon Avenue. But this is, I think it might be paved now, I'm not sure. Now, I was told this isn't it, but somebody told me, a rumor had it, that one of the DeBoer sisters slept in this house.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if it's true or not, but I just had to show that, famous people do sleep in Hyde Park.
Well, George Washington did.
Did he really?
Well,
was
he must
Dorchester.
have. He must have got tired chopping trees down.
There was a school, a building, and
And the
it
mural.
became the pre-primary.
Everett Square, around the 1880s.
Most of Washington stuff.
That
Everett
building
Square.
still exists. Now this is an ice wagon in 19, you can't see it. That was the ice wagon.
Yeah.
So like if you needed diapers, milk, or ice, I don't know, everyone would bring the
Roach Brothers.
ice to you.
It doesn't look too different, though. You know, that way building is there and all, and the middle treed area.
You see
It's
the Baptist church in the
recognizable
background.
anyway.
Bedford Square. That's sort of the beginning of that's Fairmount
Yeah.
River intersection kind of.
That building burnt down.
That building burnt down?
The second,
The
the one
second
in the
one,
middle.
yeah.
There's a park, you know, the parking lot there, but it used to be an antique shop and
Now this is Hyde Park Avenue. I think it's all the way up in almost American Legion Highway.
Is that Roslindale? Is that
That's the
Sacred
church,
Heart?
that's the-
Cummins Highway and Brown
Yeah,
Avenue.
yeah, yeah.
Cummins Highway and Brown Avenue, December 1948.
And is that the Sacred Heart Church on the left?
Yes.
There's a Woody.
Oh,
The telephone poles.
Now, this is the government, the city dredging the deposit. They dredged it twice, between 1912 and 1913. And they dredged it again in the early 50s. They want to widen the river, make it deeper so the water could flow. But it, I think it was, at that time, it was $200,000 or $300,000 to do that. And they ran out of money, of course. This is Central Avenue and Webster Street. Is that near your house?
well, what my old house, next to the house on the left, I'm right next to them. My
That
my
house
friend
is still
owns that
there.
house right
Yeah.
there, that Second Empire house, Peter.
Oak Street, turn of the century. Austin Street is a dirt road.
Pretty street, too.
This is Kelly Field.
Kelly Field, yeah.
yeah. That
And
was
that's the Anakin Park over there on the left.
that's where we went on skip day.
Any skating ring
The only
there?
day I ever skipped school, everybody went.
Oh, yeah?
That was Hyde Park 150 had that big ship.
Yeah, we had a nice time there, too.
A lot of people there?
A lot of people.
Awesome. Now, this is the Brew Estate. So right now, the Henry Brew School sits here, but he owns this property that the Brew School's on, as well as he owned about 700 or 800 acres. He owned what is now we know as George Wright. And the little known fact is, the way they built George Wright, when they were building the summer tunnel, all the dirt went to the George Wright golf course to build it.
Interesting.
FYI, that's the
That's
George
where I
Wright.
was vaccinated.
That's George Wright today. Well, that's not today. but
Not
it's
today,
similar,
but,
what it looks like.
yeah.
Now, here's an interesting shot. This is the Hyde Park shot into Hyde Park from the
From
Fairmount
the
Bridge.
bridge, yeah.
And I went to the library to find out who these church spires belong to. I couldn't tell me. The one on the right is the Baptist Church property. The one on the left, I'm not sure, but it could be probably MPB. Not sure.
It's interesting, the bridge looks wider then than it does now.
Well, see, there's three spires.
Yeah.
You can't see it, but there's three spires. There's one there,
Yeah.
one in the middle, and one on the left. So you have to, nobody knew. They couldn't tell me, but it's very simple to me. This is in the 70s.
Ah, okay.
So it had to be early 70s, it had to be 69 because the Baptist church burnt down in 1970.
It was rebuilt in '83, too, the Fairmount
Fire
Bridge.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Awesome. Good. FYI.
Those of us who lived in Fairmount knew we had to go all the way around for, about a year, I think.
Now this is 55 Water Street, owned by William Stewart, former General Stewart. Truman Highway now.
Okay.
Now this is the Moynihan Monument, and I'm trying my damnedest. This monument was bronze. Somebody stole it. This picture was taken in 1956. It was stolen somewhere in the 70s, and I'm trying to get the politicians to say, listen, this is our culture. We need to replace that plaque. Hello? Tim's trying to check something out, and I'm in contact with Pete Moynihan of the Moynihan family, and we're just waiting for where we're going to find the funds. It's about $8,000.
Okay, but we're doing Community Preservation Act.
That's where I'm going to go.
Okay, and they should be funds available for this sort of thing. That's next
I think
Thursday.
Gretchen
Okay,
posted
good.
that, and
Yeah.
I said I
Yep.
have some issues to talk about.
Yep.
The other issue is the first house in Hyde Park. Now here's the first library building we talked about before. Let me get this back. the Oddfellows block right here. This begins the Oddfellows block. So the Mason. So this is Central Avenue. It goes, the Masonic block goes to Harvard Avenue. And right in the middle is the Methodist Church, Hyde Park Methodist Church. And here's the other end of the Oddfellows block to Harvard Avenue. And there's the Anakin. That's the Anakin house on Webster Street. This is the River Street Bridge on going now and looking back to Hyde Park. This is St. Anne's Rectory, 1980. And that's the Rossville Clubhouse, which is no longer there. This is Cleary Square around 1946. Love the old cars. This is like 1950. You know, I didn't know the dates, and then I showed it to somebody in my family, and they said, no, that's a Freddie Studebaker. That's
Yeah. People
So,
who know cars. Yeah. Yeah.
okay, I'm not going to argue with you. Now this is my house I grew up in.
Now, what street?
This is 420 Huntington Avenue. It's right near Westminster Street.
Okay.
It's built in 1899, had 3/4 of an acre of land. My great-grandfather bought, every house on the street had 50-foot frontage but us. My grandfather bought the lot over here, so it's another 50 feet. So we're the only house in the vicinity that has 3/4 of an acre, and then Rossfield behind us. We used to just hop over the wall, the stone wall.
There'll be a developer there.
Yeah, well, you know what? When we sell that house, we're going to legally separate the two plots. So this land over here is probably worth $250,000,
Of course.
50 feet. Goes all the way back. Quarter acre. That's the home of the Little Flowers, which is now the Kennedy School. That's the transformation of Water Street into Truman Highway around just 1949. See Big Blue in the back.
Okay, somebody was talking the other day at the other meeting about it being 1931, and I said, no. Truman Highway was a lot later.
Yeah.
My mother
Maybe
kept
that's
calling
it.
the
Yeah.
New Road, and she wouldn't have been calling it the New Road in 1955 or whenever.
Well, I put circa 1949.
Yeah.
So
I think that's right, though, isn't it about?
It was named after Harry Truman.
Yeah, right, and I said Harry Truman wasn't even thought of.
It was a haberdasher, wasn't he,
Yeah.
in
They were
Missouri?
afraid to drive. We had a 36 Chevy my dad was trying to, and it was dead ended. There was a big bunch of big rocks at the end of the street, Truman Highway. That's where you would go for learning.
this is looking
Ah,
into Boston. This is probably where there's vans. Remember vans?
yep. And the sub shop next to it.
Street lights came to Hyde Park in 1888. The Iron Horse car came in 1912, streetcars. And I want to read you something. This is right out of the new streetcar. A further great improvement was noted in the fact that the new streetcars were so designed to make it necessary for the vehicle to come to a stop before the passengers could board or disembark. So you had to make it right. The thing was by jumping. I guess that's remember the old Rags Trash Man?
Oh, yeah.
This is like Central Avenue. Somewhere, I'm not even sure where that, it looks like Central Avenue, 1956.
Yeah.
The old Rags.
The old ways.
Here's
Yeah.
Boston Corbett, the guy that shot John Wilkes Booth.
Ah. We had a red man that was an opera singer.
No kidding.
Very wealthy.
In the old Rags,
Ranks of Bravo. He would be singing like that on.
Okay, now,
No.
inventor Hiram Percy Maxim was seated on his motor tricycle in Hyde Park circa 1895. He was an inventor in Hyde Park. I mean, no one's ever heard of him.
Person.
Now, William Lloyd Garrison, Frederick Douglass were famous abolitionists. They used to come and visit their sons at Camp Meigs.
Frederick Douglass recruited for my ancestors' unit in Ohio, too.
No kidding.
Yeah.
When Donald Trump thought he was still alive. There they go.
These are the Grimke sisters.
Yeah.
This is probably around 1870 when they had the famous election. And here's the ticket, the citizen's ticket. Now, the key thing is that I think Alpheus Blake is on the ticket. He's top left. And the Grimke sisters said, we're going to vote. They got a whole mess of women together with pitchforks and torches, marched up to the town hall, and they voted. But they didn't count.
No.
And that was and by the way, that began the Women's March. Everybody marching and women equal women's rights, and the whole country heard about this. And this is the woman that came to the Historical Society Louise Knight to talk about the Grimkes as well as other suffragists.
She was very good.
Yeah, she was.
Who?
Ethel Barrymore. She was married in, you know who the Barrymores are? Ethel Barrymore was married in 1906 at MPB, in the rectory, by Monsignor Chittick, in secret. They got married in secret. She got married to a descendant of the Colt family from Baltimore. They got married and they went over to the Fairbanks house, partied with their friends, then came back to MPB rectory to continue their party. I would have been a fly on the wall during that. And then they were divorced probably 3 or 4 years later. They had 2 or 3 children. Elizabeth Short, the Black Dahlia.
Yeah.
She lived at 66 Maple Street.
Who is it?
The Black Dahlia, the woman that was killed in California.
Brutally murdered
Dismembered.
back in the
But that's her,
40s.
on the left here is her as a child at 66 Maple Street, where she lived up near the church.
Kind of a celebrated case in Hollywood.
Never found the,
Was it solved?
never solved.
Yeah.
They think it may have been a doctor who was a surgeon.
Manny Del Carmen, Red Sox player from Hyde Park.
Sunnyside.
He's coming back and doing something in business here, I heard.
Next to the recycle center.
Yeah. William Sherman, general manager of the Green Bay Packers, is from Hyde Park. Mara Tierney. ER, and I can't remember the other show she was in.
Affair she's in now. The Affair.
The Affair, right.
Yeah.
Ted Donato, Ryan Donato. The funny story is Ted grew up he's the hockey coach at Harvard. He grew up in the Taunton Avenue area. My friend and I used to play street hockey with Ted Donato. Ted was small, and it's good to see his son playing with the Bruins.
His father was principal of the high school, too.
No kidding.
Yeah, Mike Donato. Yeah.
Dan Ray,
Reedville.
Reedville. He was in room 2-1. He was a teacher at William Barton Rogers, also room 217.
Well, Billy and Polly Walsh played Hyde Park High hockey.
We all remember the Hannons.
He's still
Robert
around.
Hannon comes to the meetings every now
Yeah,
and
he's
then,
still
so
here.
it's,
Yeah.
He was here at your last meeting.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Yep.
The library.
Yep.
Here's the artist at the library I happen to be privileged to photograph. Tufi Nasser, he had a shop over on Child Street, and his relative told me that the reason why the kids hung out there was and bought all the candy was because he had a jukebox and a pinball machine. In those days, it was good. This is the Hyde Park Library Summer Reading Club, 1966. Rocky Pagnata, Joe Pagnata, 1960s. These are the guys that built Empire Lanes. Go ahead.
Oh, your dad?
Yep. Yeah, my dad was Rocky and Willie.
Gina,
himself.
right?
Yes.
Awesome.
Pagnata. Yeah, there was a girl Pagnata at Hyde
Mary,
Park High School. when I was
Mary
there.
Pagnata was Miss Hyde Park.
Oh.
That's
My
right.
mother was Miss Hyde Park.
Really?
Yeah,
All right.
35.
Here are the Pizzolos in Reedville.
That's
Looks like the James Gang.
Yeah.
These are the Hyde Park 150 Arts Committee that I was on for a little bit. I took myself out of the picture to take the picture. There's Bob Vance on the left. He's the chairman of the Arts Committee. Marietta Finney, she runs the Riverside Theater Works. She turned 80. That's her there. Charles Senior.
The other co-founder of the Hyde Park Little League, Lou Foley, just passed.
Yes, I saw
He
that,
just
yeah.
passed.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's like 93.
I'm gonna have to go get a picture of him. He's another one of, I have him as an unsung hero, Charles Senior, in my group.
Oh, it was last week.
And there's your father.
That's Daddy,
Al.
yeah.
One Fallon Pharmacy,
Yeah, Fairmont Avenue, right?
Okay.
and a
Diagonally.
band at the Muni, 1966, Tom McGee. Here's me in Cub Scouts, the Greenwood School, 1969. I'm with the, I have the buck teeth. I used to finish the outer edge of the piece of toast first. That was a joke. Try the veal, Hail Thursday. Now this guy here, Papa
knew
Giuseppe
him.
Fuoco, he's the guy they thought was the original Papagino's.
I thought he was when I
At
was over.
Papagino's, he used to be
He
there
used to
all
make
the
the
time.
box, put up the boxes.
Yep.
He used to sit there and, yeah.
I thought he was Papagino's. This is the Grew Woods in 1891.
Wow.
Everybody know the story of the Herman? He died in, he was a trapper, and he was a taxidermist. And he was living in a hut over in Sally's Rocks, and finally Henry Grew gave him a little shack in his property. He died in 1875, and half the town went to his funeral. He's buried over there in Brookdale Cemetery in Dedham, and that's the only thing that's on his tombstone is Herman. His name is James Gatley, Gatley. So Herman. Gene Hassan, Hyde Park. Miss Hyde Park. The Flocos basketball team at the Muni. Martha McDonough. I made her an unsung hero because she was one of the early pioneers of cleaning up the Neponset area. And I think she's still around.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. She's part
She's
of
on
our
some
garden
boards,
group. Yeah.
And, great lady.
Yep.
I never met her, but someone told me, you might have been,
Oh,
that you have to include, if you're going to include somebody who's an unsung hero,
Oh, sure.
include her.
sure.
These are the librarians at the library back in the 60s, late 50s. St. Joseph's Boy Scout Troop, 1952. Mary Lou Green and Kevin White. That's the Harvard Street Telephone Company. Everybody in that room is named Mary. For some
Or
reason.
Mabel. I had met Mabel.
Yeah.
Mabel. She got beside
That's
us.
the dedication of the Martini Show.
Oh, yeah.
That's Bob Gano dedicating the clock. He raised the money for the clock. Bob Gano's on the right. Anthony Samarco talking about the 100th anniversary of Hyde Park at the well hall. Remember Interstate 695?
Yeah, oh, that was awful.
A lot of people lost their homes out on Summer Street.
Gordon Avenue,
695 was
too.
going to split Hyde Park right in half.
Yeah.
And this is the one time we got all the pitchforks and torches and marched. And somebody said, that's not going to happen. And here's the last segment. That's, I think, his last block party.
Who's that other one? Oh, Kennedy.
Teddy, Bill, and Tom.
Right?
I was trying to zoom in and see what he was drinking here.
Yeah.
Couldn't quite catch it. There's Tom and Angelo. Now, remember I told you about the seal? These are a bunch of fellows that created the seal. This was Hyde Park, the Hyde Park Board of Selectmen, 1902 to 1903. John Johnson, the man on the left here, is my grandfather's uncle. There's Charles Palmer, A.W. Dunbar, F.Y. French, and the man on the right is Mr. Pring, J.F. Pring. And these are the guys that created the seal. This is the Hyde Park Businessmen's Association. This is my grandfather's uncle right there. This is the 50th anniversary of Hyde Park dinner.
What year?
1868 plus 50 is 1910. So right here, this gentleman right here is Charles Chick. He was the keynote, oh, sorry, right here. Charles Chick, he was the president of the Hyde Park Historical Society and the keynote speaker that day. And that's Charles Chick.
Remember, there'd been no world wars then.
Yeah, that's right. The war didn't start till
Just
like
the Spanish-American, yeah. Wow.
Is Casaba.
Yep.
His wife's gonna think, let's get this over.
Well, his wife has been very instrumental in Hyde Park 150, too.
Yeah, I know that,
Yeah.
yeah. This is Bob Foco running for office.
Did he win?
I'm not sure.
I don't think so. Do you remember?
I don't believe so.
I don't think
Now, this is Mayor Collins.
Wasn't he known as the night mayor, though?
Right here.
Later
This is
on?
when Mother Brook and the Ponce River overflowed, and Hyde Park Avenue was a pond. And you talk about stooges, pulling the mayor. He's surveying the scene. This is Marty and his wife. This is when they were the tree lighting a year or so ago. Tim McCarthy, Angelo. This is the book that I'm talking about, Bronson Ghosts and Mary McDonough.
Oh.
And I use this book as a reference when I have to go check on something, as well as Anthony Samarco's Hyde Park, book on Hyde Park. And these are the people that, the many people in areas that I've used to get the information that I get and where I get some of my pictures from. And I should include also Mary Margaret Pitts, the librarian at the Hyde Park Library. She's been a doll helping me out. I also want to thank Hal Sherler for helping out today with some equipment and supporting Hyde Park then and now. And that's it.
Okay.
Did everybody get a postcard?
We did.
I wanted to ask a question. Absolutely.